V for Vendetta. Buy the 2-disc collector's edition on Tuesday.
The only verdict is vengeance.
Go deeper into the most revolutionary film of the year with breathtaking special features.
I'm ready.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
It's time.
From the creators of the Matrix trilogy comes an uncompromising vision of the future. V for Vendetta. Buy it Tuesday on DVD.
It was the best summer ever. I didn't spend it at the beach or on a family vacation. In fact, I spent most of my time at work. Early mornings, late nights. It might sound boring, I know, but I did a lot of growing up that summer. I remember a place, an office like a lot of other offices, a cubicle like a lot of other cubicles. And the thing is, after all these years, I still look back with wonder. Day after day, they rolled by, each one the same as the one before it. But that all changed the first time Shane bet me $1 that I couldn't beat him at Soul Calibur. As the summer days dragged on, what had once just been a hobby became much more exciting. Eventually, it was the main reason I wanted to come to work every day. Shane. Foolish Shane. His lack of skill was going to help me get the one thing I wanted most. A PlayStation 3.
Hey Darren, what's up?
Oh, hey man, what's going on?
What's going on? Did you go to EA last week?
Yeah, I was there. Valve pretty much dropped the bomb on that place.
That's why I'm here. I missed it, and I wanted to know, like, you know, everyone's been buzzing about, especially Portal, but the other stuff as well. I mean, what they show.
Portal kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, like, no one was expecting that. I knew there was a new single-player game they were putting together with some new kind of mechanics, but you ever hear that game? How do they pronounce it? Narbacular Drop?
Narbacular Drop. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been reading about that. I downloaded it because everyone was talking about Portal and
Yes.
said that this was the previous game that they worked on. I guess they were DigiPen students.
Yeah, they were students. It was like their senior class project or something, and the project's been done for a year, and they got scooped up by Valve.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
What a way to go. Definitely not about the artwork. It's not about the
it's very
textures.
trippy, that's for sure.
It's trippy, but it, you know, you can tell it was something that a few people threw together as like a student project.
Mm-hmm.
It does have a lot of potential. I think, especially some of the later puzzle rooms where you set like an in portal and you basically set like an out portal, and then from the point where you're like standing in your in portal, looking through your out portal, you can decide to like set another out portal from that point. So even though you as a player don't travel anywhere, you can progress further and further through the map by just like pointing your out portal at different spots until you get to like an ending point, and then you drop through it.
And not even that, just like being able to like drop a portal underneath an object, and you have to move across a room somehow, and instead of like pushing it, you're actually like just creating new random portals throughout the room.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This next test is impossible.
Some people, when they were watching the trailer, were thinking, oh my god, this game I don't know if I'm smart enough for this game. There's just like too much stuff going on. Like I'm flying all around and going all over the place. I don't know. It sounds really cool to me.
Well, I think people were saying the same thing when the physics puzzles just started happening with with Half-Life 2, and they said, "Oh my God, how the hell am I going to manipulate the environment?" And maybe once people start getting into it and get used to it, they'll dig the whole idea.
I'm sure the difficulty will ramp up appropriately.
And the fact that it's free with Half-Life 2 Episode 2 certainly doesn't suck either, right?
Exactly.
This is more than anyone can bear, but we will persevere.
We're done running. This is our chance to take back our world. We're not going to lose it the second time.
Of course, the most important thing, in a way, that they show, TF2. I saw it, I went to E3, my first E3 was in 1999. I wasn't even in the industry yet. I just faked a company name and went with a bunch of my friends. And we went to, the Valve booth, and they were showing off like the first videos of Team Fortress 2, which had, realistic looking military guys running up to tanks and dropping grenades inside and that sort of stuff.
Incoming!
7 years later, the game still hasn't come out, and now it's this thing that looks like The Incredibles.
You have so many games out there right now, hyper realistic. You got, and all these games using the Source engine too. Counter-Strike and all that. It looks kind of like a lot of the same.
Crisis and all those, Battlefield. There's plenty of vehicular,
generic Soldier number 7
right.
with the new helmet.
Exactly.
So with TF2, I mean, it really the way that each character looks unique and almost like you're playing with action figures as a kid.
Right.
Because really, when it comes down to it, TF2 is just kind of like capture the flag, but really trippy.
If it had looked more realistic, like any of those other games we mentioned, I don't think it would have felt like Team Fortress. Team Fortress has always been kind of wacky, shooting nail guns and, running around at speeds that are way, way, way too fast for humans to run at and all this sort of thing. I'm glad it's cartoony so that, they can keep the gameplay feeling more arcadey than it may have if they had gone realistic with it. Half-Life 2, Episode 1, Episode 2, Team Fortress 2, and Portal, all for your PC, all for your PS3, or all for your Xbox 360.
Yeah.
That's pretty
fucking
hard
man.
to beat.
I gotta tell you, man, I have a pretty pimpin' computer at home, but
yeah.
I mean, when I heard the news that it's going to be simultaneous release on all three things, and then on top of that, you got this big bonus package for the 360. I'm like, fuck it, I'll try it on the 360 now.
I'm glad it's coming out for 360. It'll be so easy to find people to play Team Fortress with. It's awesome. Have you played the Ship, the new game that came to Steam yet?
Actually, I just downloaded it. Haven't had a chance yet. You should check with Sean Elliott. He's definitely on top of that right now.
Yeah, I downloaded it earlier. It's awesome. Anyway.
All right, man. I'll catch you later.
Hey, Sean. Hey. You're playing it.
What up?
What's up?
What's going on?
What do you think of this?
Getting into it. It's pretty cool.
I wouldn't have even found out about this game if it wasn't on Steam and in their top image for the day or whatever.
Right.
They're doing a really good job of marketing these small games that no one would ever hear about if they didn't decide to put them out.
The original game was a Half-Life 1 mod, and there was just no way, when they talked to publishers, first they're hung up on the graphics. They're like, you want it to look this way, and they're like, no, see the gameplay beyond the graphics and stuff. And then they're like, well, that's really an untested design for a game.
Oh, I wish I could see him again.
It takes a little explanation to anyone. You say, what is this game? Is it deathmatch? It's purely multiplayer game, and there's a single player content. It's designed as a multiplayer game. What would you say? Does The Sims meets Clue meets deathmatch?
That's pretty correct.
Where
all set in a cool fantasy ship.
You're tasked with finding and murdering one other occupant on the ship, and likewise, someone that you don't know has got, you're their target. While you're trying to avoid being killed yourself and figure out who's chasing you, you start off with just their name, then you kind of confirm them by walking up to people and checking them out and stuff. So there's always this weird uneasy tension. It's like poker, you know. It's like you see, you know, kind of that like whatever it is, unconscious twitching or whatever would happen when you get a good hand. You don't want to, like, you see someone, you're like, that's them. You just want to play it off and casually walk away, because the moment you start staring at them and follow them around, they're going to try to run to a safe area where there's a policeman or someone around. So at the moment they pull a weapon on you, they're going to be arrested.
Once they begin attacking you, you can attack back. So the idea is to try to stay as stealth as possible and just, you know, be nonchalant and then come up behind them when they walk into another room where there's no one looking.
Yeah, you're saying you see them freaking out, and you can get them into a situation where they're running from you and they're going to a guard or something, and they just get so exasperated they pull out their weapon, and then boom, immediately they get arrested. So you just got some random person like in the brig just for, and you weren't even chasing after him. So that stuff's pretty cool. Some people just, they're like, what? What's this stupid? Why do I have to take a dump? Why do I have to read? Why do I have to sleep and stuff? And of course it's there so that you're not constantly just running around chasing one another in this.
It builds the tension for those moments when you finally do actually run up to someone and start attacking, or when someone comes after you.
And you could forever otherwise exploit it and just constantly stay 10 feet away from them and never be able to catch them unless they get a firearm or something like that.
Exactly.
So you have these vulnerabilities. It's like you don't want to be on the can when someone offs you. You know, you're taking a dump or whatever and someone comes in with a baseball bat. It's like the worst case scenario for you, but you have to do it, otherwise you're gonna pass out or whatever.
Exactly.
A lot of games you just show a screen and people immediately get it, like, oh, it's a first-person shooter. I can kind of figure out the rest. Maybe it'll have vehicles, maybe it'll have aliens, or maybe it'll be set in a military theme or something.
Yeah, but the only way to really figure out what's going on in this game, aside from reading, like you said, 500 words about it, is to sit down and play it yourself.
Right. I almost wish there was a demo available for people, because it's kind of one of those things where, you know, it's like you try it and get a sense for if it's something you like. I mean, if you're going in for fast action, you will be disappointed. But I think if you like some of the more nerdier board games that are out there, the card and stuff games, like Ticket to Ride, you know, things like that, you probably get into it.
Yeah, it has a lot of personality, much more so than, you know, any of the big name deathmatch games that are coming out these days, I think.
And the assumption a lot of people have is that innovation should reign supreme, and that just because you're innovative, you need to sell a million copies, and that's not necessarily the case. But as long as you're selling enough to sort of justify what you're doing and keep you doing what you're doing.
Now they have an outlet where they can make their money back.
Right.
You know, and that didn't exist before.
That sort of philosophy could carry over to, you know, Xbox Live Arcade and stuff too.
For sure.
Especially now that Valve's announced that they're making it so you can immediately develop both for 360 and the PC with their engine.
Well, anyway, yeah, cool. But hopefully I'll find you playing it online.
Sounds good. Have fun.
How did the Minibosses form? What was the genesis? Were you guys all sitting around and really liked the Flashman stage in Mega Man 2, or where did it come from?
There used to be a band called Genova Project, and Aaron and Woody were in that band. And then that band broke up because their bassist Colin moved to Boston and got married to keep his wife from being exported to Canada. Anyway,
you're not joking.
This is 100% true.
Okay.
And anyway, so Aaron and I had a abstract algebra class together in college with Lisa Fastenberg.
The hottest abstract algebra teacher ever.
And while there may not be a lot of competition, she was still nice to have.
Did either of you have her?
No, definitely not. Well, for a teacher, she probably does.
Yeah, how do you like that now, abstract algebra
Lisa
teacher?
Fastenberg.
These guys are gonna have.
How come you never asked out any of your students?
These guys are gonna have iPod shuffles pretty soon.
Hey,
we're in San Francisco.
Anyway, let's get the interview back on track here, okay?
right, so algebra, go.
So Aaron and I were in the same abstract algebra class, and we both like to play video games. And at the time, we were fooling around with an emulator called Nesticle. So we started playing some of the songs. Wow, that's anyway. So we started playing some of the songs from Nintendo for fun, and we got a drummer who we kicked out of the band after about 2 weeks, and then we got Matt.
I was less of a dick.
And it's worked out all right since then. And then we've gone through second guitarists. Basically, I mean, John will probably be kicked out of the band pretty soon.
Why do you go through some? Is the lead parts of Mega Man 2 extra tricky? Is there ego?
They're tricky, but we're kind of just elitist snobs, you know. So.
Well, you guys only like Nintendo. I think that defeats elitism, doesn't it? Nintendo's sort of pedestrian.
You shut the fuck up.
Are you serious? You're gonna tell me that Nintendo's not the most normalized, brainless shit ever?
No. Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
You don't really think
the interview
that.
just changed, didn't it?
Yeah.
You want to talk about the Nintendo Wii now?
It's all.
First thing I was wondering, as we're sitting outside, Mark McDonald and I from Game Videos are sitting outside and we're listening to the songs that you're picking, and we hear like the Mega Man suite. And it sounds like just Mega Man 2 galore. And like it's schoolgirl-esque, giddy, Mark and I like, you know, dancing outside.
A lot of Nintendo games, obviously, but the ones we pick basically are pretty much our favorites, the ones that we really like the music from and that we grew up playing. So Mega Man 2 is pretty much the top choice on all of our lists.
Mega Man 2 specifically, what in your opinion is the best part, the best like music segment from Mega Man?
Bubble Man.
Woodman.
He's lying, Bubble Man.
Maybe Flash Man.
He's also a lie.
I don't know.
Not so much.
Wily.
Wily 1. I think Wily Castle 1 is probably the best piece of music that Mega Man creators have seen.
massage parlors in San Francisco. And I like to say that Mega Man 2 is a very happy ending.
Oh, God. Wait, the ending of Mega Man 2, though, doesn't he die? He dies at the end. He's walking in the...
That's right.
That's all every robot
That's
wants.
right. He turns into a real boy just for a second.
Oh,
As usual, Shane had already challenged me to a game later that day, and I was confident, as always, but a little bit of nervousness was creeping in. He had finally realized he couldn't beat me with Ivy. I was searching for the truth, looking to find myself. Growing up happens in a heartbeat. One day you're in diapers, the next...
Hey Jeremy, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Mark gave me these GB titles. What are they called?
Bit Generations.
Yeah, Bit Generations, and I have 2 of them, but I don't have that one, Boundish, and I was wondering if I could check it out.
But yeah, these are kind of Nintendo's Japanese stylish side that you never really see in America. I mean, all the Bit Generation games come in this kind of unique packaging that's much smaller than a standard GBA title.
Totally.
The aesthetics, especially of Boundish, with the little international male-female symbol characters, the 8-bit sounds, the really simple vector lines on black backgrounds, it just has this kind of like super minimal, super slick, stylish feel, intentionally retro, but very friendly to... it kind of strikes me as playing up to what casual gamers, think of as video games.
Do you like that one?
It's my least favorite of the entire group. It's
Oh.
okay, but it's kind of like Pong, but stylish.
I see.
It's got 5 different variants in it. I'm not really a big fan of any of them. The worst is definitely the box toss, where you're like a guy tossing a box in the air and catching it, and that's it.
So it's like single-player Pong.
Yeah, it's kind of not so good. There's a really interesting version, which is almost like foosball. You're kind of on these strings, and you can bounce in and out. But by bouncing forward or back, you can actually add a little extra velocity to the ball.
Ah.
Which is, it's interesting. And like the guy in the back, whenever he hits the ball, screams, "Yay!" or "Wee!" It's kind of weird. I think the best mini game in Boundish is where you've got 2 guys who can move up and down and back and forward kind of freely. And there are large blobs of neutral color on the ground. And whenever your ball passes over one of these blobs, it takes on your color. If your opponent runs across a blob that's your color, it'll slow him down. And if your opponent hits the ball through a blob, then it changes his color and slows you down. Now, really, Boundish is just not that interesting. I mean, Pong is Pong, and even if you're playing Pong on a turntable, it's still Pong.
Dialects is basically a puzzle game that's maybe like the hexagonal version of Lumines or something like
Dialects, it does have kind of a Lumines style to it with the glowing, pulsing geometrical shapes.
Right.
But it seems to be very similar to the game Hexic. You've got a hexagon with little triangles in it, and basically you're trying to match up hexagonal wheels of the same color. And as you play, you start out with just 2 colors, but as you play, more colors come into the mix, and that actually makes it really hard because the color choices are not very good. You start out with light green, and then you get a green and brown and a light brown.
You start with 2 colors, and you eventually get more colors, and as you clear 6 hexagons of any given color, then a new color is unlocked. And it does have bombs and stuff like that, but what it doesn't have is a score. Like, there's no score keeping it all in the game.
Yeah, it doesn't have a score, it doesn't have alternate modes, it doesn't have different color choices. It's very limited, and I mean, the game itself is fun, but there's just the game, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Dotstream is the geometrical version of F-Zero or something like that.
Yeah, it's really It's kind of like a side-scrolling racing game.
There are zipper pads that make you go faster. There's a pit lane
Right,
where you
right.
can like stop for a second, build up what are essentially like a turbo boost that you can activate yourself, but it also acts as your health at the same time.
The crystal works as kind of a shield, so
Right.
you don't want to use all of them at once on a more advanced track, because if you run out of them from boosting, then you'll end up
Right.
running into something and dying.
Which is kind
It'll
of
be
the
game over.
same way that F-Zero's energy system
No,
is
it
handled
definitely
right
has
now.
an F-Zero kind of style to it.
In the pit lane, you can decide to, how many crystals you're going to store
you
up
can
at
sit
any
there
time.
and recharge as much as you want.
Right.
So you run the risk of the rest of the pack tearing ahead of you. Yeah, the one thing I don't really like about Dotstream is that I haven't figured out a way to start out even with everyone else at the beginning
Yeah,
of the
they all race right at
It
the
feels like
beginning, yeah.
you're always controlling the slowest dot, which is kind of strange.
The AI racers, if you will, tend to be really haphazard in the way that they move around the track. They turn a lot, and obviously the way the game is built, if you're going straight, that's as fast as
Right,
you're going to be able
the
to
less
be.
you turn, the faster you go.
Right,
It's
so-
a really interesting game. I mean, it's just an exercise in minimalism, but even so, it has some racing mechanics that are kind of complicated that I haven't seen in another game. If you cross over another racer's line, the line they create behind them, you don't crash, but you slow down.
Yeah.
So it's to your advantage to kind of stay away from the rest of the pack and avoid crossing over anyone else's line. I know I really enjoyed, the initial discovery of these games a lot more than I did continuing to play them. I think they're more novelties than sustainable games.
How
And
much
3 are out
do they
now.
cost?
They're 2,000 yen, which is about 18 bucks here.
It seems like they should be. I was thinking they should be more like 1,000 yen or 1,500 yen or
it's-
something like that. Because
Nintendo seems to be going after a very casual market here
Mhm.
with these games, which really fits their mission in Japan right now. I think, if they release these as full price collections of 3 or 4 games apiece for the DS, they'd be really good deals, and I could see them coming out in the US. But individually, as $20 Game Boy Advance cartridges, I don't think these have a lot of prospect for coming here.
Anyway, can I borrow a Boundish from you? if
Yeah,
you're not
yeah,
playing
yeah.
it?
Knock
Cool.
yourself out.
Ah, my summer in Japan. Or rather, my summer watching the video of the week I spent in Japan with Milky. 22 hours of watching the same video over and over. I don't think I'll be ready to go back for a while.
Oh shit, dude. How long have you been standing there?
Long enough.
You scared the shit out of me.
How's this going?
It's coming along.
Yeah.
Yeah, still got some work to do on it, but...
Let's start so you can tell us about the future of Q Entertainment and where things are going. You guys are busy. You have Voluminous coming out for like almost every system.
Right.
You got every Extend Extra. You've got some secret projects you're working on. Can he show us some of his skills? Demonstrate.
He's saying that he's actually better with Voluminous.
Oh really? Yeah, I was watching. He seemed pretty good. Ah, this is my favorite song.
My song.
Yeah? Is it? Really? Whoa.
Right. So, when do you think you'll have this done by? Need it for next week, right?
Yeah, well, hopefully before then.
Hopefully before then.
I mean, yeah, it will be.
What's Shane's 1750 cha-ching?
Yeah, that's how much he owes me in Soul Calibur.
He owes you $1,700 in Soul Calibur betting.
Yeah, the last bet we had was like $1,000 bet.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people who make bets with Shane, and good luck getting that money from him. That's all I gotta say.
Don't worry, I got a plan.
All right.
You don't want to come over and play PS3?
Screw that guy. I knew exactly what I was doing. Or at least, I would when I thought of my plan.
Started out as sort of like a web gathering of the fighting game communities. We decided we'd hold tournaments, and over the years it's sort of grown bigger and bigger and more official, and now we're at the point where we're attracting sponsors, and it's sort of like a homegrown fighting game, pro league.
It's true, actually. I mean, a lot of times I think the impression about a lot of sort of pro gamers is that they're a little bit, you get a lot of pencil neck, sort of pasty white geeks, and we have people that are really sort of all over the map, and the energy here I think is a lot different than you find at something like a Halo or an FPS type of tournament. It's really, people get loud, they scream, they don't fight, but they almost fight, and they just seem to have a lot of fun and energy. They're not ashamed, to be gamers.
There are a lot of people who grew up playing Street Fighter in these games who really love them, and as we've gotten sort of better online tools, first through Usenet, if you're old enough to remember that, and then the web, and then all these sort of gaming sites for Tekken and Street Fighter and even DOA now sort of found each other and networked together. We sort of pool our resources and put on a bigger event for everyone's benefit.
Even as some of the arcades have died, this has totally picked up steam because everyone who comes to these events comes back again the next year because everyone has a really good time. And I think the idea of meeting people in gaming is sort of that's been gone since the arcades. You hang out with maybe your friends, but you can really connect with a lot of people here and have just a good time. We're playing games that are some of them really old, but we get more and more players for them every year. People pick up very old games, and we're all for playing games because they're awesome, not just because they're new, although we like the new games too.
This would be the first year that Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo isn't officially being played. What were the reasons behind that? Because that's always been just a really old school favorite around here.
Right, there's really only one reason, and there's not a satisfactory port on consoles. We moved, in the B tournaments we were all arcade, now we've moved to all console.
Why is that?
Why is that? Well, arcades are dead. We're sort of the hardcore fighting game players, and we held on to arcades for as long as we possibly could. And when it got to the point that even in the hottest spots in the country for fighting game players, arcades were closing, we saw the writing on the wall, and we had to move to consoles. So some of the newer games, the Verse series from Capcom, and of course the 3D games have great console ports. Some of the older games, Super Street Fighter 2 or Turbo, has no arcade perfect console port, and that just wasn't really acceptable.
This is something I've been really wanting to know, because EVO is a fighting game tournament first and foremost. But now we have Super Mario Kart here. Could you go into detail?
EVO 2K is about the tournaments first and foremost, but like Seth said, it's also about sort of getting together with a lot of other gamers and having fun. And when we looked at Mario Kart, it's something that we can do really for free. It takes very few resources because we run the first round of the tournament as time trials. So that means if we had 500 people who wanted to do Mario Kart DK, you just do time trials and we take the top 8, and then we run the top 8 sort of as a bracket. So it's something that's very inexpensive to do, and as we've gone to these sort of gaming conventions like E3 and PAX, we've been amazed at the number of DSs that we've seen. I mean, everyone has a DS, right? So that's kind of a fun portable gaming device, and we want to try to support it. Of course, the primary focus is the fighting game tournaments, but we can do something that's easy and really fun and sort of appeals to, sort of the casual side as well, then we want to do that.
So we won't be seeing Halo 3 at next year's EVO.
You're not going to see Halo 3 at next year's EVO. You're not going to see lots of racing games. This is not sort of a new direction for us. It's something that we can do on the side that's fun.
But were there any other games that you guys would like to see at EVO, fighting game related?
I would really like to see Smash. So we're really looking at Brawl on the Wii, and we want to try to bring it in a way that we maintain what makes it unique, what makes it separate from the Street Fighters and the Tekkens, which also makes it competitive and attractive to the hardcore Smash fans.
We can have whatever games we want here, and we do for the most part. These are the games we like. So we've been doing this for a long time, so I feel like Street Fighter history is our history as well, and this whole community is all part of it. You know, we know people all around the world.
For $20.
Final round, go.
Have two finalists. This is player one, Pyroly.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
What's your name?
Amir.
That's cool. So, how do you like the tournament?
It was fun. It was good. For, Evo West had a lot of entrants, so.
Does it feel good to win?
Yeah, this is the most money I've ever won in a tournament, so definitely.
What was your paycheck?
602.
Ooh, that's pretty nice. Wish I could make that much in a couple days. Congratulations.
Thank you. This was a good win because Amir usually gives me a really hard time, and good win, solid win. Yeah.
And this is also your first console tournament, if I'm not correct?
Second, but the first one sucked.
The first one sucked, Your Honor. Thumbs down. Any final comments on your experience?
Really fun.
Amir, how do you like it?
We'll see you in finals, I guess. Finals are going to be crazy.
Yeah, not me. I fucking suck. I got raped, but I had a lot of fun being here. Thanks, Franks. Thanks, everyone, for having me.
You see that?
Lame.
You see that? That said perfect? I think it said perfect. Yeah. Alright, you wanna bet on this one? What are we at?
1750. Let's bet.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Let's bet 50.
Alright. I knew that was coming. Oh shit.
Go! God damn it.
So what are we up to now?
$800.
What did you say? It's just perfect. You know what that is? It's a perfect game.
Yeah. I've had those myself too.
You have? Not lately.
Whoa, sweet Contra poster, dude.
Oh, nah, man. It's my winnings.
Holy crap, $2,000?
Oh, hold on. Shit, this isn't right.
$6,000?
That's right. Let me get me some PS3s, my friend.
This is getting out of hand.
Oh, it was out of hand, man. We had a ridiculous match, that's for sure.
You guys make me sick.
Dude, it's gonna be a good summer, man. What's up, Shane?
Ah, those were the best of the times. It was the absolute top of the world for me, and Shane would never really know just how happy he'd made me. His loss would become my PS3, or 10 PS3s, or 20. All I know is it was a summer I'd never forget.